What's up and welcome to a new market update, and today we're going to cover the Bitcoin correction. As we can see that Bitcoin has been correcting after the rejection at 48k, and the trend is down, and not only on Bitcoin but also on the equities the trend is down, and on the dollar index the trend is up, and that's all correlated to each other. The correlation with tech stocks and Bitcoin is quite high lately. Bitcoin Miami has finished, which is also probably giving some downwards momentum too. But overall, the markets are correcting, so we're going to look at Bitcoin and Ether in a way that we're going to face the price action there. But before we're going to continue, make sure to subscribe and like this YouTube update, and check out my Twitter and Instagram where you can find daily content on the markets. And as you can see, we've changed our place. I went from Miami towards Paris last night, as in the coming few days we're going to have Paris Blockchain Week. So we're going to do lots of more networking here. Last week we've been doing that in Miami. And I think that Miami is even crazier than Dubai. I had to get into the vibe there. If I want to go to Miami again, I'll be going with the group. But I'm very happy to be around in Paris, to have some proper food, to have some proper wine, and to just enjoy life again before we're going back to Amsterdam, and then a 2-month grind of building products, building the company and creating content is going to start. So yes, we are in Paris, but also the markets are correcting. Bitcoin is correcting even more, as right now it's beneath 41k, and it is beneath 41k, which means that we are into that range again, and it's actually not looking too well. Although we have been covering a few of those levels as very important, that you should be watching those. And I think that most of the altcoins that have been running heavily in the previous weeks are getting towards those points where you might be getting interested into them. And I say might, because the chances that we're going to drop down even more could be there. If the equities are going to fall down some more, or are going to show some more weakness, and in the meantime the dollar is going to go up, there is absolutely no reason for Bitcoin to start running. But what I've learned from the past few weeks traveling, and the big size of the community it is, or the size and the growth that we're seeing with the adoption and the huge interest into the markets at this point, is that inevitably we're going to have the big bull run. So I've tweeted earlier, or I'm tweeting that today, that if the markets are correcting and you still want to get interested into the markets, or you want to start investing, the lower the price goes, the higher the ROI that you will be getting out of your investment. So Bitcoin will be getting into such a run unless we're getting sanctions all over the world, and Bitcoin will be limited. But yes, the markets are short-term wise not looking the best, in a way that short-term we are seeing that downwards trend, and we definitely have to gain some more momentum. If you wanted to see a slight corrective move, then you probably wanted to see a 10 to 15% correction before we start to run upwards again. So at this stage, it is time to start looking at levels that are important on the downside, and some scenarios on the downside too, because the correction is getting a little bit more swift. And if we want to have any reversal at all, I think it has to be done in the coming few days. So let's end off this intro and get towards the charts, in which we'll be discussing what should be happening to the markets if we want to see something happening there in the way of an upwards momentum. So let's head towards the charts. So when we're looking at the price action, it looks quite sad, right? So let's erase and let's just start over again to see what we are actually having at this point. So we had that resistance at 45k. We've had a really beautiful breakout here, in which the breakout immediately rejected at 46.5 to 47k, and then we started to fall back into the range that we're currently seeing. Then we can start defining the other side of the range, in which we can see those lows here, right? So we can see the lows in which we can find 35k and 37k. is very important to watch, but we can clearly conclude that those are the levels that we should be looking at. So I'm keeping 35, I'm keeping 45 as well, as that is the clear range high. We also have this block here, which we structured as very important if we were going to drop back into the range, as this entire area is most likely going to provide some short-term support in which we could be having some momentum towards 45k, and then the question will become whether we're going to crack that resistance. But the two levels that I'm watching, well, we've got this one for short-term relief. We've got the lows that we have here at 35k and all of the way built up here. But what is this structure telling us? Constantly on the previous block retest, it is holding up. So if I clearly want to see some longs happening here, and if we lose 41k, but we want to keep on building those higher lows, I think 38 is the crucial one. So right now, and we're going to zoom in a little bit, but right now we are looking at 40 to 41k as we drop back into the range. I think that looking for longs here on the lower time frames is not the worst to do, but if you're looking at it for the higher time frames, I think 38k is a crucial one. If 38k is lost, I'm going to look at a new low beneath 32k next. When we're looking at the lower time frame, we've had some beautiful momentum on the weekend, right? So we've had some volatility, and that volatility got all the way towards the heavy rejection in which we had structured ourselves into new lows. So we had this block here that we wanted to break through. We rejected and started making new lows. What we're currently looking at is this level that we could be finding ourselves support. Every time when we hit such a level, we get some sort of rejection or reaction. I would not be surprised if we get a bounce all the way towards the level at 42, and then the question will become whether we're going to have something like this in reverse or whether we're going to fall down even more and then we get towards 38k. So looking at the scenarios for Bitcoin, there's two. First one is that we hold up here, that we find ourselves support, get a bounce to 42k, reject, get a new lower high, lower low, and then we reverse the actual trend, creating that higher low. The second scenario is that we start to nosedive even more, and then based on the daily time frame, I'm looking at 38k as a very important level through which we could be making ourselves a higher low and then start continuing. If that one is lost, the third scenario, then we're seeking ourselves for a new lower low, and then I'm looking at 29 to 32k for that sweep. When we're looking at the dollar index, this one is still running up, but based on the 3-day and based on the weekly time frame, it starts to look a little bit overheated. We have been running quite swiftly. Yes, of course, we can have the same as in 2015, which was a heavy bear market for Bitcoin too. But at this point, it looks to me that we're still trending up, and if we're trending up, the trend is not going to help Bitcoin. However, if we lose the level at 99.75, I think that we're going to drop back into the range, and then we're going to go towards upwards momentum of Bitcoin in itself. The Nasdaq, as we can see, also dropping down and getting into a crucial area in which these two previous highs are probably going to be the crucial level. So we've got this bounce here, right? So you clearly want to see the exact same happening here if we want to see anything happen on the market in itself. We got two gaps too. And we got a higher time frame support level which we are currently approaching. So definitely this zone between 13.7 to 14k is the area where I want to see the Nasdaq create a bounce from. So when we're looking at Bitcoin overall, these are the three scenarios that I'm looking at. It's crucial, and I think that it's inevitably still a great chance for you to get into the markets. Tomorrow we're going to cover this again. Tomorrow we're back at 3 p.m. Central European time with the updates. Have a wonderful day. Don't do stupid shit. Keep on smiling. Subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.